Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Thomas Hirschbrand's podcast. This week I am joined by Chris, also known as the Gut Coach IBD on Instagram, where we are going to talk about Chris's background with IBD, how he helps people, and how he became the Gut Coach. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
No worries. Thank you for coming along. As we said, we're going to talk about your background, how you founded the Gut Coach, what you do with the Gut Coach, and how you help people as well. Starting with the background, you have IBD yourself.
I do, yeah.
So, and that was around, am I right in saying around about 2017 you were diagnosed?
Yeah, so the official diagnosis was 2017, but in all honesty, I struggled with my gut from the age of 12. So as to where it actually came about, I'm not sure. But yeah, officially diagnosed in 2017.
So diagnosed in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point, where did you then go from there? So you sort of diagnosed in 2017. Did you sort of think, right, what is this? Or did you have sort of an understanding of IBD pre-diagnosis?
I mean, in all honesty, before I was diagnosed, I had no clue it existed. So originally, the months leading up to my diagnosis, it was suspected colon cancer. I was quite concerned about that. So when I got the diagnosis of IBD or ulcerative colitis, it was almost like a relief in a way because it wasn't cancer. And then it was kind of like, so what is that? So it became, it was a bit of a strange one because I genuinely had no idea what it was. The doctor tried explaining it. I then went away and done a little bit of research, but I was essentially told that by taking a certain medication, and I could be on it for the rest of my life, that would essentially control the disease. So I wasn't overly concerned about it at first. My symptoms were quite severe, and this medication did get them under control within about 3 to 4 months. So from that side of things, I wasn't overly concerned, but beyond those 4 months, things just kept yo-yoing in and out. I would have a good few days and then I'd be straight back into a flare-up, and it just kept repeating. And although the initial introduction of medication seemed to work really well for me, it was essentially 3 years of me just floating in and out of remission and flares frequently. So it was a monthly basis.
Right. So you initially diagnosed. It's interesting that you said you went away, you did some research, because I tend to find when I talk to people, they fall into two camps really. They sort of go into the, I want to know quite a lot, or I want to know everything about this. Or you have the other camp of, I don't really want to know, I have this, but I just want to sort of keep it out of mind. When you work with people, do you find a similar sort of pattern?
I feel like mostly people who reach out to me are people who come across me through doing research. So for the most part, the people I work with have done a significant amount of work themselves before they get to me. I have had 1 or 2 people that have just come across me and booked in on one of my free calls. They were very early on in their journey. 2 of them had been diagnosed within a month of coming across me, so I got to work with them quite early on. And in a way it was difficult because they were quite unaware of what the condition was, but at the same time they hadn't picked up any of the bad, whether they're bad habits or not, but the things that people, coping mechanisms that people develop through having it. So in a way it was easier to get these people when they were quite early on, but at the same time, they didn't really have much knowledge about the condition other than what the doctor had told them. And when I say I went away and researched it, I genuinely went away and looked up what ulcerative colitis was, got a very short background of what it was, and that was it. The first 3 years of being diagnosed, that I was not proactive in any way. I kind of just listened to what my doctor said, was on a low residue diet for the best part of 3 years, which left me very malnourished to a certain degree. And didn't really dive into things until I was told that in order for me to really get rid of these symptoms long term, I might need to consider surgery. And that was kind of like my wake up call. It was that really flicked the switch, and it was like, okay, this is actually quite serious. And I pretty much thought about it for all of about 5 minutes, and I remember telling the consultant that no, I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like I had done enough before taking that. I felt like that was too drastic of a step to go from where I was to surgery, and I really wanted to put the work in before I chose to go down that route. So I essentially did that, and I just spent 6 months really, really doing my research, and that's when it really paid off. Within 4 months, I was off medication, and by month 6, I had no symptoms whatsoever, and I stayed in remission for 3 long years. And then last year, I was away traveling. I was in Cambodia, and I caught typhoid fever, which, for those who don't know, is a very savage bacterial infection. And I had to go on a course of antibiotics. The antibiotics then caused C. difficile, and I was in hospital with C. difficile. This then brought on all the symptoms of a colitis flare. So I thought I had undone all my hard work. I was then again very proactive when I got back to the UK in October. I was able to get myself back in remission, and then I had a colonoscopy last month, and the surgeon said if he was seeing me for the first time, he wouldn't diagnose me as having colitis. So even after all of that, I was still in remission, even though I had some of the symptoms, but those symptoms can surface from having those bacterial infections. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, especially the last 6 months, because I genuinely thought I had undone all my hard work. But I've now had the results from my colonoscopy, and the colitis is nowhere in sight still. So yeah, it goes to show it can be not. I don't think you can ever get rid of it. I think there's always the chance that it can come back. There's no such thing as a cure, but you can do a hell of a lot of work to heal it, and then do a hell of a lot of work to keep it in a maintenance phase where it stays away for a long period of time.
That's fantastic. What a story to start or to kick us off with. That's incredible. I do want to touch on something you said when you said there is no cure, and that's absolutely correct. Because I have seen, unfortunately, there is a fairly, should we say, prominent Instagram video going around about IBS and IBD that I've seen several times of people saying that you can cure it with diet, which is totally and utterly untrue. No. So I don't know if you've seen that at all.
I have, yeah. I mean, there's certain parts of it that I can agree with. I mean, you don't typically tend to end up with IBD without abusing yourself to some degree. And my diet before diagnosis was terrible. I drank a lot, I smoked a lot, I ate a lot of processed food. There's no arguing that I'd done the damage. And then by reversing my diet and cleaning it up, I then was able to heal. So there is a level of that. But to say that that is the be all and end all of getting rid of the condition, I had to go through that period where I was on medication to get myself to a period where I could think straight and actually do the work. Because if I just tried to just change my diet in the early stages, I might not have been as successful. So yeah, I'm aware of the video that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And although there's certain aspects that I feel are to a degree true, that you can't just rule it out, and you certainly can't compare IBS to IBD.
No. So if I'm right in understanding, having spoken to quite a few people with IBS and IBD, Am I right in saying that IBS is more an irritation of the gut and IBD is more of an open wound of the gut?
Yeah, that's a pretty good roundup, really. I mean, it's not to take away from IBS. IBS can be very debilitating as well, and it's very frustrating because it's usually due to stress and also irritation of certain sensitivities towards food. But IBD is essentially you have an open wound in there. If you have colitis, it's more of a surface level. If it's Crohn's, it can work its way through multiple layers of the intestinal tract, and you can end up with completely ruptured intestines and stuff like that, which you are not going to see in someone with IBS. So the severity between the two is two completely different ends of the spectrum. But there are similarities in some of the symptoms, but a mild IBD is probably similar to quite a severe IBS. So
I'm glad you said that because I got it from your Instagram page. So I'm glad you.
There we go.
I'm glad you backed that up and you didn't just say that was rubbish, because then I'd be really worried. No, thank you very much for that.
How would you have responded to that then?
I don't know. I've absolutely no idea. It just probably had to be a cut and shut edit, and have to go into something else. But if we go to what you're doing now. As the gut coach, you were a production manager, and you left that role circa around a year ago to take on the gut coach full time. What made you? Because obviously you were doing little bits of advice here and there before doing this full time. What made you think, right, I really want to help people now?
Well, originally when I started doing it, I was working as a production manager. I also had a few other little side hustles, and I remember speaking with a friend once, and he was like, "What are you trying to achieve?" Like he's very financially aware, and he's like, "What are you trying to achieve with building all these different things?" And I said, "Well, eventually I want to get to a point where I'm financially stable enough that I can coach people with IBD for free." And he just said, "Well, most people don't value what is for free, and you're doing a lot of work on things you don't want to do to then do something you're passionate about. So why not just charge for the thing you're passionate about? People will value it more, and you can provide for yourself through doing it." So I thought at the time that it didn't seem like a bad idea. So I did then start to study as a health coach, because when I first started doing it, I was just doing it off my own experience. I had no qualification whatsoever in it. So I started to qualify in that, and then once I qualified, about a year ago, I gave up the full-time job. We went away traveling. We went to Thailand, Cambodia, and because it was way cheaper to live out there, so we'd done 6 months out there while I was building up my business up, and it was come off to a good start, and then came back to the UK, and here we are.
Fantastic. Excellent. So if we go towards your business as itself, one of the things which I particularly like from studying your page is that you look at all angles. So you don't just go, right, it's diet, and we'll just look at diet, or we'll just look at physical symptoms or whatever it might be. You tend to have you definitely have 5 perspectives that you look at, being diet, mindset, lifestyle, exercise, and stress. Why did you choose to go down the sort of more rounded route rather than focusing on specifically sort of diet or exercise, or just picking one of those 5 things?
I mean, I think mainly from my own experience, I realized that you can't treat it by just focusing on one area. Like the body is one complete system. Like you can't just focus on the digestive system to fix a body and the condition that affects the majority of the body. And it doesn't matter how well you eat. If you're a very stressed individual, if you're stressed all the time and you've got high amounts of cortisol running through your body, that has been shown to break down the lining of your gut. So you could be doing all of the hard work by eating all the right things to not see the results because you haven't managed your stress, or you could be managing your stress and eating well, but you've got a very sedentary lifestyle which isn't allowing you to function right and treat your fatigue and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it has to be a full approach, and there's also aspects where it's understanding why someone wants to heal it. Because if someone's trying to heal, again I say heal, not cure, for anybody who's listening, if you're trying to heal so that you can go back to the lifestyle you used to have. So for me, I used to drink a lot and eat badly. If my purpose to heal was to go back to that lifestyle, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. But my purpose was beyond that. It was to see whether this was even possible. I also almost saw myself as a bit of a guinea pig, like, well, let's see what I can actually do with this in 6 months. And then at the end of those 6 months, if that hasn't worked, then I was going to consider the surgery. So it's kind of like a final ditch effort to see what I could achieve in those 6 months. And within the first 3 months, I cleaned my diet up as much as I possibly could, but I still had symptoms there. And that's when I realized that it had to be more to this than just diet. And then as soon as I started integrating the stress techniques and lifestyle techniques and exercise and bringing all of these other aspects in, then yeah, all of a sudden my symptoms just kind of vanished. It was quite scary how quickly they went away. But like I said, by month 4, I came off medication, and by month 5, I was medication and symptom free, and that continued for a full month. And that's when I kind of knew I was onto something.
That's fantastic. So you've made an awful lot of progress in a fairly shortish amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had added pressure that it was kind of like the doctor was saying, you need this surgery. And I was saying, well, I don't really want it, but I had to kind of listen to him at some degree. So it was kind of like, well, I'll try 6 months. And at the end of that, if it hasn't worked. So it was kind of like, I had no other choice. It was either this was going to work or surgery was the next option. So, and I didn't want that. So I kind of went into it saying this was going to work, and it did. But
so did you give yourself that timeline of 6 months, or did the doctors give you that timeline?
No, I gave myself that. They didn't, I'm not going to say they didn't support it, but they did suggest against it, because obviously they've got to be careful about these things. They can't, so it was completely my choice. But yeah, it was a choice that paid off in the long run. And that's not to say that surgery is not viable options for some people. Some people will be in a worse situation than I was, and they may need to take that there and then. But for me, I just felt like it was a step too far. I was on probably the lowest form of medication you could be on for IBD. It was just the melsalamine, which is very low level in comparison to all the other medication. So we hadn't even explored different types of medication that I could have gone on, and then they were suggesting surgery because it got quite bad. So for me, I felt like, let's try some other things first. Yeah, definitely. And that kind of neatly brings us on to the next point I have about your business, in the fact that you treat people as individuals, which I love, and that's something I did throughout my businesses as well, where everybody is different. You know, whether it was my background in teaching, whether you teach somebody and everybody learns differently, everybody has different abilities and skills. Everybody's health is completely different as well, and that's what I really enjoy or really like about your business, in the fact that you say, actually, we'll work with people one-on-one and say that they're individuals, rather than saying, right, this is what you have to do. Obviously, there are presumably some guidelines to follow. There's presumably some sort of fairly standard things
like do this or don't do that. But I do love the way that you treat people as individuals.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was a formula, do X, Y, and Z, and you will get Y. But sadly, it doesn't work like that. So there is certain tools and stuff that I use along the way that all of my clients will use along the way, but they might just need them at different times. But yeah, everyone is completely different. Everyone's in different stages. As I said before, I've worked with people who were diagnosed within that month that I worked with them. There's people that I've worked with who have had it for 15 years. So obviously the degree of what they know as well can limit what I can kind of do to work with them. But the main thing is we all tend to know what we need to do. Sometimes it's just having that accountability and someone in your corner to help you do it. So sometimes it's a question of, so what do you feel you need to do? And they come up with all the answers. It's quite a beautiful process really when it happens that way. They kind of know, oh, I know I should be doing this, so let's look at that, and how can I assist you to make sure this gets done this week, kind of thing. And just working through it that way, it becomes once you get the root to what their problem is, whether it's diet, stress, lack of exercise, a mental barrier. Some people have anxiety around foods, different types of foods. So once you can pinpoint the specific areas that someone's struggling with, it becomes quite systematic to get them to take the actions week by week. And then that just compounds over time. And yeah, within 3 months, you can make a significant change to someone who's suffering with this condition. Some of my clients are with me for 6 months, but most people do three months and see very good results.
And speaking of clients, one of your really important points is client feedback. How important and integral is that to you and your business?
I mean, it's super important because I don't think many people are aware of how much you can do for yourself with this condition. When you're diagnosed, you're told you're with it for life, and there is some truth to that, but it doesn't mean you have to suffer for your whole life with it. Like, you can live very well with this condition, and you can end up, like myself, 4 years in remission. Even with all that crazy stuff that happened last year, I still managed to remain in remission to some degree, and it's still gone. So yeah, I think just being able to help people see that, and seeing in each person, because if I just talk about my journey, like, that's great, but that's only going to relate to certain people. But by seeing all these different testimonials from different clients, there's always something someone can take from it and see how they can if they need that for themselves, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you say as well that you have a community of success stories, as well as providing ongoing support as well. And I think it's one thing where if your coach, in whatever it might be, in a sporting context, or as you do in IBD, you can have one person saying something, but if you can read lots and lots of people's stories of, this person's helped me this way, this person's helped me this way, that can often sink in a lot easier. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've lost my words. Sorry, someone's doing the hoovering. Can you hear it?
No, I can't.
Okay, sorry, could you just repeat that question? It was just getting louder and louder, and I was thinking, God, can you hear that?
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Sorry about that.
So we're just talking about all of the success stories you have, and you've not only built a business, but you've built a community as well. And we were talking about you saying something, or maybe a doctor says something to you, or can often be impactful, but also something else that's impactful is having lots of people with conditions similar to you sharing their stories and saying, especially you yourself, helping other people and saying, well, Chris helped me this way, Chris helped me that way, and just talking about how how important that is to you to have a community of people rather than just one person saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's immensely important. I mean, I actually had 2 clients that I didn't know at the time knew each other, and they would like work together in between the sessions with me. And it was the relationship those 2 built and the progress they made was just incredible to see, because I'd come back to the session and they'd be telling me about what the other person had done in that week. And it was just, yeah, it's the first time that's ever happened. But yeah, it was really cool to see. But yeah, just I think it's beautiful just to be around other people that are in the same situation, and just seeing other people progress. It's not competition, but if you see someone else who was suffering in the same way you were is now in a good place, that's just encouragement to you that, oh, actually, I could do that. Like, some people might think, oh, Chris has done this, but maybe he's got unique circumstances. Like, that's not the case. I think everyone to some degree can improve their health regardless of the condition that they might have. There's always a little something you can do to improve your health. And yeah, just by seeing other people's success stories, I think that just really helps to drive home like exactly what is achievable, and that it's not like health is not something that's fit for the few. Like, that it's open to everyone. Like, you can achieve a very healthy lifestyle with any autoimmune condition to some degree, if you put the work in and do what's necessary.
Definitely. I think we're very much on the same lines with that in sharing stories as well, whether it be through this podcast or whether it be through your community. Sharing success stories, I think, is incredibly important. And just very lastly, as we come towards the end, what are your plans for the future in terms of the business itself?
So, I mean, I have a personal mission of helping 100,000 people with IBD to live better lifestyles and achieve the freedom that I've achieved. So that will forever be my mission. Even if or should I say, when I achieve it, I will then continue. I don't think I will stop there. But yeah, that is my main goal, is just to reach as many people. And that's not to say coached by me. I've had people that follow me on Instagram and have messaged me and saying, I had no idea that cow's milk and gluten could be such a problem. They've cut it out and their symptoms have gone away. And I've had no coaching or one-to-one experience with them, but that's someone I count as helping because they've just seen it from me. So yeah, I think just keep doing what I'm doing. I've just launched a YouTube channel, so I'm planning on posting once a week on there. So I'm currently just making content for that. And yeah, I'm about to launch a podcast myself as well with a friend of mine, Dennis. That's called the I've Become Determined podcast. So a little spin on IBD. And that will be hopefully launching next month. And yeah, just keep spreading the word and just keep spreading the information. And yeah, hopefully just help as many people as I possibly can, and keep meeting people like yourself and collaborating and hearing everyone's story, because it's so inspiring to see what everyone's achieving. People with all sorts of conditions are achieving amazing things, and I think Instagram's like a great platform for seeing this, because I've got so many people on my Instagram that achieve amazing things, and they've basically at one point in their life been written off as having this condition. And I think it just depends on what you allow come of it is what will happen, basically.
Definitely, wholeheartedly agree. And you mentioned the YouTube channel and the podcast and the Instagram. So if people want to find you, get in contact with you, get in contact with your business, how would they go about that?
I mean, the best place to start is on my Instagram. So at the Gut Coach IBD. On there, I have you can obviously contact me directly through there, but I also have a link tree in there that will take you straight to my website, thegutcoach.co.uk, where you can book a free consultation call. So this is an hour of completely free coaching. We can discuss kind of where you are, what you're trying to achieve, and how you can do it. And then if working with me is something you want to do, that is something we can discuss as well. I've also got a free ebook on my website, so you can download that and get a bit more of an insight of my journey, and how I've kind of got to the position I am now. And the YouTube is also in that Linktree link as well. There's only a few videos up there now, but I plan on growing that week by week. So yeah, stay tuned and see what comes of that.
Fantastic. If you do need help with IBD, definitely contact Chris on those channels. I just want to say thank you ever so much for your time, and I wish you every success with the next 100,000 people that you help.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and hearing a little bit about your story.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.